What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Today Assets Report, your go-to source for the latest updates in the crypto world. I'm your host, and today we've got some absolutely critical news that's shaking up the entire cryptocurrency landscape. If you've been following the CLARITY Act and its potential impact on XRP, Bitcoin, and the broader digital asset market, then you absolutely need to hear this. We're talking about a major roadblock that just hit, and trust me, this is something that could affect every single person holding crypto right now. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because we're breaking down everything you need to know, and I mean everything. Before we dive in, if you're new here, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on crucial updates like this one. And for those of you who've been riding with us, drop a comment below and let me know what you think about today's news. All right, let's get straight into it because this story is developing fast and time is of the essence. So here's what's happening right now, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it because this is serious business. The CLARITY Act, which has been one of the most talked about pieces of legislation in the crypto community, has just encountered a massive obstacle that nobody saw coming. For those who might not be completely up to speed, the CLARITY Act has been positioned as a potential game changer for digital assets in the United States. This legislation was designed to provide clear regulatory guidelines for cryptocurrencies, which is something the industry has been desperately crying out for. We're talking about establishing definitive rules that would help distinguish between securities and commodities in the crypto space, something that's been a gray area for way too long. The lack of clarity has been holding back innovation, scaring away institutional investors, and creating this constant uncertainty that's been plaguing the market for years now. XRP holders in particular have been watching this legislation like hawks because of Ripple's ongoing legal battles with the SEC, and Bitcoin enthusiasts were hopeful that clearer regulations would open the floodgates for more mainstream adoption and integration into traditional financial systems. But now with this major roadblock, everything's been thrown into question, and the entire crypto community is left wondering what comes next. The timing of this setback is particularly painful because momentum had been building. Bipartisan support was growing, and there was genuine hope that we might finally see some movement on the regulatory front that would benefit the entire digital asset ecosystem. Let me break down exactly what this roadblock entails, because understanding the specifics is absolutely crucial here. The CLARITY Act, which had been gaining momentum and actually building some serious bipartisan support, has hit a wall in Congress that's proving to be much more difficult to overcome than anyone anticipated. We're seeing political divisions that run deeper than just the usual partisan bickering, and it's becoming clear that there are powerful forces on both sides of the aisle who have very different visions for how cryptocurrency should be regulated in America. Some lawmakers are concerned that passing legislation like the CLARITY Act without enough safeguards could lead to increased financial crime, money laundering, and could potentially put consumers at risk. On the flip side, you've got representatives who believe that overregulation will stifle innovation and drive crypto businesses overseas, essentially handing the future of digital finance to other countries like Singapore, Switzerland, or the UAE, who are rolling out the red carpet for blockchain companies. What we're witnessing is a fundamental disagreement about the role of government in emerging technologies, and unfortunately, crypto is caught right in the middle of this ideological battle. The timing couldn't be worse either, because as we speak, other countries are actively working on their own regulatory frameworks and are trying to position themselves as the global leaders in digital asset innovation. This isn't just about one piece of legislation failing to move forward. It's about the United States potentially losing its competitive edge in one of the most transformative technologies of our generation, and that should concern everyone regardless of whether they own crypto or not. Now let's talk about what this means specifically for XRP, because Ripple and XRP holders have perhaps the most at stake in this entire situation. For years now, Ripple has been engaged in this exhausting legal fight with the Securities and Exchange Commission over whether XRP should be classified as a security or not. The CLARITY Act was supposed to provide the kind of legislative clarity that could potentially resolve disputes like this once and for all by establishing clear definitions and criteria. If the act had passed in its current form, it could have created a pathway for XRP to be definitively classified as a digital commodity rather than a security, which would be absolutely massive for Ripple and for everyone holding XRP tokens. This classification would open up new markets, make it easier for exchanges to list XRP without fear of regulatory backlash, and could potentially unlock institutional investment that's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for regulatory certainty. But with this roadblock, that timeline has been pushed back indefinitely, and we're left in this frustrating limbo where nobody knows exactly what the rules are. XRP has already been through so much volatility because of regulatory uncertainty. And this latest development is just another chapter in what's been an incredibly turbulent journey for the token and its community. The XRP army, as they're known, has been incredibly resilient and vocal throughout this entire process, but even the most dedicated supporters have to be feeling some frustration right now with yet another delay in getting the clarity they've been fighting for. What's particularly difficult is that this isn't just about price speculation or investment returns. For many people, this is about the principle of fair regulation and the belief that XRP shouldn't be subject to rules that didn't exist when it was created. Bitcoin might seem like it's in a different category altogether, but don't be fooled because this affects BTC holders too, and in some pretty significant ways. Even though Bitcoin has generally been recognized by regulators as a commodity rather than a security, the broader regulatory environment still matters tremendously for its future growth and adoption. The CLARITY Act wasn't just about defining individual tokens, it was about creating a comprehensive framework that would govern how crypto exchanges operate, how custody solutions are regulated, how taxes are handled, and how new financial products like Bitcoin ETFs and futures contracts would be approved and overseen. Clear regulations would make it dramatically easier for traditional financial institutions to integrate Bitcoin into their offerings, whether that's through retirement accounts, banking products, or investment vehicles that everyday Americans can access. We've already seen how powerful the impact of regulatory clarity can be with the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs earlier, which brought in billions of dollars of institutional capital almost overnight. The CLARITY Act could have supercharged that trend by removing even more barriers and uncertainties. But now with this setback, we're looking at a prolonged period where financial institutions might continue to move cautiously, waiting to see how the regulatory landscape ultimately shakes out before committing major resources to crypto integration. For Bitcoin maximalists who believe in the long-term inevitability of Bitcoin adoption, this might just be a temporary speed bump. But for investors looking for near-term catalysts or for companies trying to build Bitcoin-based businesses in the United States, this regulatory uncertainty creates real challenges that can't be ignored. The broader implications for the entire cryptocurrency market cannot be overstated here, and I really want you to understand just how interconnected all of this is. When we talk about regulatory clarity, we're not just talking about making life easier for crypto companies or investors. We're talking about the fundamental infrastructure that will determine whether digital assets become a core part of the global financial system or remain on the fringes as a speculative asset class. Right now, the United States has the opportunity to set the standard for how cryptocurrency is regulated worldwide, much like it has with traditional financial markets. But every day that passes without clear legislation is a day where other countries gain ground and where American innovation potentially gets left behind. We're seeing jurisdictions like the European Union moving forward with comprehensive frameworks like MiCA, which stands for Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation. And while it's not perfect, it at least provides businesses with a clear set of rules to operate under. Meanwhile, in the United States, companies are still navigating this patchwork of state-level regulations, SEC guidance that seems to change depending on who's in charge, and CFTC oversight that sometimes conflicts with what the SEC is saying. This creates an environment where it's incredibly difficult to build sustainable businesses, and it's why we've seen some major crypto companies either leave the United States entirely or choose to establish their headquarters elsewhere from the start. The brain drain and capital flight that results from regulatory uncertainty isn't just theoretical, it's happening right now, and every talented developer or innovative company that chooses to build elsewhere is a loss for the American economy and for American competitiveness in the global technology race. Looking ahead at what might happen next, there are several potential scenarios that we need to consider, and honestly, none of them offer quick or easy solutions to the current impasse. One possibility is that the CLARITY Act gets significantly modified through negotiations and compromises, potentially emerging in a form that satisfies more lawmakers, but that might also water down some of the provisions that the crypto community was most excited about. This is the classic legislative sausage-making process, where bills get amended and adjusted until they can gather enough support to pass, but where the final product sometimes barely resembles the original proposal. Another scenario is that the CLARITY Act remains stalled indefinitely and the regulatory landscape continues to evolve through court decisions, agency rulemaking, and piecemeal state-level legislation rather than through comprehensive federal action. This would be frustrating but not unprecedented, as many areas of law develop gradually through case law and regulatory interpretations, rather than through grand legislative statements. A third possibility is that some external event or crisis forces Congress's hand and creates the political will to move forward with crypto legislation more quickly, whether that's a major market disruption, a high-profile hack or fraud, or competitive pressure from other countries racing ahead with their own frameworks. There's also the possibility that we see leadership changes in key regulatory agencies or in Congress itself that shift the dynamics and create new opportunities for legislative progress. Predicting which of these scenarios will play out is nearly impossible given the complexity of the political environment and the number of variables involved. But what's certain is that the status quo of regulatory uncertainty can't continue forever without serious consequences for the industry and for everyone involved in it. So that's where we stand right now with the CLARITY Act hitting this major roadblock. And trust me when I say this is a story we'll be following very closely in the coming weeks and months. Make sure you're subscribed to Today Assets Report so you don't miss any updates as this situation develops, because things in the crypto world can change incredibly quickly, and you need to stay on top of the latest information to make informed decisions. Drop your thoughts in the comments below about how you think this will all shake out, whether you're optimistic or pessimistic about regulatory clarity coming to crypto, and what you think this means for XRP, Bitcoin, and the broader market. And if you found this breakdown helpful, go ahead and smash that like button to help the algorithm show this video to more people who need to see it. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you for being part of this community and for staying informed about the issues that really matter in the crypto space. Until next time, stay safe out there, keep learning, and remember that knowledge is your greatest asset in this wild world of digital currencies. This has been Today Assets Report, and I'll catch you in the next one.